The 6th annual Stepmom Summit is here, September 14th through the 18th, and this year's theme is Out Loud. We have got over 30 experts. It is completely free, 100% virtual, so you can join from anywhere, and we are 100% live, so you can ask your questions and get real answers from our speakers. Register now at thestepmomsummit.com. That is thestepmomsummit.com, and I will see you there. Today we're talking about the father wound, and you are not going to want to miss it. I'm Cameron. I spent years building my career and creating a life I loved. And when my Prince Charming finally showed up, he had 4 kids in tow. Fast forward through lots of mistakes made and lessons learned, stepfamily life was much more complicated than I realized. If you're looking for help with blended family life, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Stepmom Diaries, where we keep it real as we dish about all the things. This is your weekly dose of blended family inspiration and encouragement. You're not the wicked stepmother, so let me help you find your fairy tale ending. Come on, let's do this. Welcome, welcome. I am so excited about today's guest. I'm welcoming her back on the podcast. She has been a Stepmom Summit speaker last year and now at this year's Summit event, which is coming up in mid-September. And if you have not gone online, checked it out, and gotten your free tickets, you can grab them at thestepmomsummit.com. Make sure you've got the in there, thestepmomsummit.com. Tickets are free. It is a 100% virtual, 100% live summit this year, September 14th through the 18th. We've got more than 30 speakers who are going to be talking about pretty much every issue that comes up for stepmoms in stepfamily life. And Terri Cole is one of them. And let me tell you, she is one of my favorite people to interview because she is just so wise. And I'm excited to have her back today. Terri, if you're not familiar with her, is a licensed psychotherapist, a relationship expert, and a best-selling author of Boundary Boss, Too Much, and the upcoming new book, Father Wound. For more than 20 years, Terri has helped people create healthier relationships by making complicated psychological concepts feel practical and doable. She is also the host of The Terri Cole Show and reaches more than 1 million people every week through her podcast, her courses, and her online community. And we have such a great discussion for you today. I cannot wait for you to listen to it. And there are a couple of points in the discussion that I actually say, like, hey, if you're listening, you're going to want to rewind this by like 2 minutes and listen to this again because it's so good. Definitely do that because Terri is dropping some real wisdom on you today. So let's go ahead and dive in. Terri, welcome back to the Stepmom Diaries. I'm so excited to have you back.
Cameron, thanks for having me back.
So I want to dive into this because you've got a new book out and it's fabulous. So it's called Father Wound. Tell us, what is a father wound?
Okay, so a father wound is a psychological and emotional injury that happens when you have a father. Growing up, you had a father who was could be emotionally, abusive, could be absent, could be someone who just wasn't attuned at all, authoritarian, drug addicted, alcoholic. There are so many situations. All roads lead to this father wound, though. There's many ways we can get one, but that's what it is. So this isn't just for biological fathers. It's whoever raised you, basically any father figure. But at its core, a father wound is a worthiness wound. So it's somewhere we learned from that person that we weren't good enough as we were, that you needed to be different, better, more accomplished to be worthy of love and consideration.
I mean, I feel like that sort of sits underneath so many of us, especially a lot of other type A women, right?
Same.
I feel like those feelings sit underneath so much of that. I mean, you got pretty personal in the book. What made you decide to start taking this on?
Listen, just like every other thing I've ever written about, from boundaries to codependency, which are my two, so Boundary Boss and Too Much were about those things. I mean, you teach what you most need to learn is what I believe. At least that's how it's been in my life. And so I took on father wounds because I am a father wounded daughter. And this really, really impacted my life, having a father wound, and impacted every aspect, not just my romantic relationships, most definitely them, but not just my ambition, my friendships, all of it. And it took me years to be able to write about it, it's no coincidence that it's the last thing.
Yeah.
It's my most recent book. I didn't start with that book. It's my last book because it's really the one that I needed to heal from the most.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's so true. I mean, I definitely got into this work because I needed it, you know. I
Yep.
think that's so true that we tend to be, tend to gravitate towards things that we're looking for or that we need.
Well, I think we're also, for me, am on the other side. I now have an integrated father wound, and I want that for every woman who feels like she hasn't acknowledged and integrated her childhood experiences. Because so much of the time, like we don't really talk about father wounds. That's why I wrote this book,
Yeah.
because
No, we
we talk
don't.
plenty about mother wounds, right? All kinds of books, courses, people, podcasts about mother wounds. And when I started really doing research about this, there really wasn't much out there. And in fact, I collected a group of 650 women who were self-identified as having father wounds and did a ton of research myself. I wouldn't call it official research, right? It's
Yeah.
unofficial research because you don't have all the parameters. But why I did that is because there was not a plethora of information or research done out there. But I also wanted to make sure that in Father Wound, the book, that I actually hit all of their pain points, that I really was writing the right book. How are we suffering as father wounded daughters in our adult lives? How is it showing up? How did they think it was showing up in their sex lives, in their romantic lives, in their professional lives? And so that was such important data for me to get
Hmm.
right directly from the horse's mouth as to what is it they need. And that's what I wrote.
I love that and that you went so deep on this. I mean, what was something in talking to all those women, like what was there something that really surprised you that you didn't expect to hear?
Well, the thing that I think is surprising, I don't know that I was surprised, but is that ambition, being highly successful, being highly accomplished, being very type A, this can go along part and parcel with having an unhealed father wound. And it makes the wound invisible because when you're successful, people don't think you're suffering. And
Yeah,
you can
that's
be
so true.
successful and you can be suffering, which so many of these women were. But when you're highly capable, you can do it for a long time, all the things for all the people, you know?
That's so true. And I think, I mean, I've seen that in my own life, with having anxiety and depression. People just assume that you're fine because you're capable and you look fine on the surface. And yeah, that's so true. So, all right, let's talk about the stepmom. Stepmoms marry someone who is already a father.
Mhm.
So all of a sudden, they're living with high conflict dynamics, unpredictability, and a role where she's definitely not prioritized, right? Like her
Mhm.
needs are coming last. And it's hard regardless of your situation. But, how does she tell the difference between saying like this situation is truly hard and
Mhm.
my nervous system is running my father's blueprint?
Well, I think you have to understand, which is the first step that we do in the book, and the first step I do anytime I teach father wound work, is you have to understand your own downloaded father wound blueprint because yours is very unique, right? Cameron, yours is unique to you, mine is unique to me. So hers is unique to her. So
Mm-hmm.
the only way that you can make the distinction whether am I reacting in this moment from my adult self or am I having a transference to the past from my father wounding? That's the question that you're posing to me is how can she make the discernment between, and I don't think it has to be an either or. I think that both can be true simultaneously, but the thing you can do something about immediately is learning more about your own father wound, being
Mm-hmm.
more clear about what you didn't get, answering the questions in the book, because it's really all about answering the right questions, right? When I think about what do I do for my therapy clients, my coaching clients, my mastermind women, it's really about not being anybody's guru, of course. It's really about being a good GPS to get people to the questions that they need to answer to uncover what their own wounding is about very specifically and uniquely them. So for any woman in that situation trying to make the distinction, I think that our needs matter when we make them matter.
Love that.
That's
So
it.
true. I mean, it's so true and it's so hard. I mean, I think so many of us get into step family life and think, well, okay, I can put myself first when the kids, finish the school year. I can put myself first when the kids graduate. I can put myself first when the kids get married. You know what I mean? Like it just,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's
But
moms in general, but stepmoms especially because of the.
yes, but here's the thing. That doesn't work. And what happens is we end up in this Groundhog Day of resentment and feeling underappreciated and marginalized. And in so many ways, it's of our own making. So if there's a glass ceiling in your life of your own making, this is how you deconstruct it. Part of it is understand that you have to decide that it's okay for you to have needs, even when you're in a high conflict situation. Your needs should be considered just as much as everyone else's. And yes, when we are raising kids, whether you are a bonus mom or a bio mom or both, right? Some people are both. Of course, we prioritize children. That is the normal hierarchy of a healthy family system. When you have minor children, you have committed to prioritizing their wellness and they're hopefully setting them up for success and all of those things. That does not preclude you from having a date night with your partner, from going away with your girlfriends because you need a weekend away, because you need to regroup. And the thing is, when I think that this is very much true for me being a bonus mom myself, is that we want to look to our partners to do it. We want someone to give us permission to live our lives and to matter. We want someone to say, it's okay, you go. What happens is people are looking to you to tell them what's okay. So if you look to them and they're not you, they don't know how you're feeling because you're saying yes when you want to say no, or because you're prioritizing everyone else above yourself and feeling all pissed off about it, but not saying anything about it, you're setting everyone up to fail.
Yeah.
And it's really about gaining the courage. And when you have this worthiness wound, it's not just courage, right? It's having a deep understanding that the child within you is not sure that you have a right to have these needs. And so that's why you got to go in before you go out. Because if you try going out and sort of renegotiating the way everything is going to be in this house, before you understand why you relate to your needs and your worthiness the way that you do, we can't outsource this. This is an inside job.
Yeah.
So it has to come from you. And keep in mind how we can be setting up our partners and kids to fail, because when you are the needless wonder in the beginning, when you set yourself up to have no needs and to do all the things, and that is your sense of belonging, is being of service in this way, but it's completely attached. The requirement is self-abandonment.
Yeah.
So it's not sustainable, because the more you self-abandon, now the more you blame other people, even though you're doing it. But we feel like, oh, how entitled is this one? How entitled is that one? We do it all the time. It's funny, when I was raising my kids with my husband, and I say our kids, even though I am a stepmother, just for clarity. I just never say step because I don't have bio children. So they are my only children. It took time for me to hold on to my sense of self and my sense of, so if I was getting like back talk from my youngest son was kind of a pain. And so he would be sort of snappy. I would have to myself be like, hey, I think you just asked me to do you a favor and drive you to Billy's house. So if you actually want me to do you a favor, back it up and lose that tone, because no. So is that the tone of voice you'd use when you were asking for a favor? He was like 14 and just like a jerk, which, listen, teenage boys, please. They were all teenage boys when I got there. So great. But I would have to negotiate for myself rather than I didn't go for me. It was okay for me to do that. I didn't go to my husband because I knew he'd been overwhelmed for 12 years doing this by himself before I got there. Right. So I was like, I just am in it. This is like Lord of the Flies. Like, we're just gonna make it happen. But you have to know that how you feel matters. And if you don't prioritize how you feel, you end up alienating the people you want to be close to.
I love all of that, Terri. And for those of y'all listening, I want you to actually rewind by like 2 minutes. And I want you to listen to what Terri just said again, because there is so much gold there about finding your worth. And I think so many stepmoms struggle with finding their seat at the table. And we do feel like as stepmoms, we have to ask permission.
And here's the thing, you have to make it your table. So part of it is when we're expecting, we're so sensitive, many of us, to like the nuances of like, are the kids rejecting me? How are they behaving towards me? Are they approving of what I'm doing? Are they not? And the kids are like sharks, meaning they smell blood in the water.
They
right?
know.
Like if you are very insecure, if you are seeking the approval of an 8-year-old, They know it, and they will manipulate the crap out of you.
Yes, they
So
will.
I remember my mother saying to me one time, because I was crying to her about how hard it was being a bonus mom, and kids were acting out. Everyone was terrible. I thought they were all going to become criminals. And my mother's like, I remember saying, this is not what I signed on for. And she was like, I beg to differ, my friend. This is exactly what you signed on for. And she's like, Tara, you have to be the grown up all the time.
Yeah.
You have to be the grown up all the time. You only have this much time to influence these kids. And this is exactly what you signed up for. And you've got to do your job, which is to co-parent with Vic, with these kids. And that means even if they're acting like idiots, you can't lose your mind. You have to stay the grown up. You have to say, well, I don't appreciate that. And now you're not going to use Xbox for whatever. Like, you have to be the grown up. And I remember thinking, dude, I never realized how hard it was to be the grown up all the time. But I understood what she was saying, which is that when we relate to stepchildren from the children within us that are unhealed, it feels so personal. It's so painful that they're so ungrateful. They're so mean. They're such jerks. They're all the things, right? But when you do it from a grown-up and a more parentified place where you go, well, they're teenagers. This is their job to separate and individuate. Their mother died when they were children, little kids. So, of course, the separating and individuating is probably going to be more complicated. Okay, so it doesn't mean it is your job to put up with disrespect, which I never, ever did with my kids. And that's saying something when I had 3 teenage sons that I came into possession of. But I didn't, because I always treated them with respect. And I had an expectation that at the very least, they would treat me the way that I treated them. Now, I also didn't expect them. This was a very well-formed family that I came into personally. So yes, things were going to change, because we're not eating dinner at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. And you're a sophomore in high school, why are you still up at 1 a.m. on a Wednesday? You're not doing that anymore. No, your friends cannot be here till 10 p.m. at night. Like, I did bring some normalcy, I think, where I was like, we're eating dinner by 7 every night. Yeah. That's it. Your friends need to be out of here by 7 because it's a school night. Like, just trying to bring some normal stuff to it. But again, there has to be a certain amount of confidence. And a lot of this has to do with co-parenting. Because if there is support with the co-parent, like my husband was just exhausted by the time I got there. If I would have been like, I'm taking over everything, he would have been like, please do. So I don't think that all fathers, some are very protective and feel like that you don't want to, but you have to have enough latitude to create your own relationship with the kids,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's so important, and getting, that time with the kids, and the time as a family, but also kind of one-on-one, and for them to understand that you can be a safe place to land for them, that you're not their mom or dad, and you're not trying to replace anybody, but that you can be this sort of extra person in their life that loves them, but that's hard. And props to you. I've been through the teenage stepkid stuff, and it's real.
Oh, dude, so real. But think of it as like a loving other. Like, could you be a loving other in their life? And I also think that we really have to, 2 things you have to quit altogether: silently suffering and walking on eggshells.
Amen to both.
Yep. That's it. Those are the 2 things. If we get them out of our lives, relationships, parenting, all of that. And how do we do that? Having effective communication, having good boundaries, prioritizing our own needs as we balance the needs of the family system, right? But it's your job to take care of yourself. It's your job to do what you need to do to be well, to be nourished enough that you can parent, because parenting is hard. Kids are idiots and they're amazing. They're all the things. We know this, but teenage boys can be, they were trouble.
It's real.
It's real.
Correct. You get the battle scars. So, talking about self-worth and feeling invisible and childhood wounds, we've talked a little bit about claiming our seat at the table, doing the work, but still not feeling like we're part of the family. Can stepmotherhood create a fresh wound, or is it mostly reactivating the wounds that we already have there?
No, I think both. Listen, this is just being a human being on planet Earth, that new experiences, loving anyone creates the opportunity for new pain, right? This is just it. We love deeply, which means that we hurt deeply too. I think, though, that you're in a much better position to effectively and lovingly and successfully step parent if you acknowledge, heal, and integrate your own worthiness wound. Because the only things we can do as people, according to me, what I've seen in the last 30 years being a psychotherapist, is we can either talk it out or we can act it out. So much of what I'm giving you in this book is bringing all this unconscious material from the basement to the main part of the house. So it is no longer quietly and like silently in a hidden way driving behaviors. Right now we look and go, this is what I experienced. This is what my family thought about fatherhood. These were the expectations or not. And in the book, I also talk about co-wounding and this is a concept that really wasn't out there. So I literally just created it because I saw it as so valuable. I'm like, how are we not talking about that? You can have two attachment styles, and most people do. And if you have a father wound, if you had another parent, let's say you had a mother in the home, did whatever that person did around the problematic stuff the father did she mitigate or did she exacerbate?
Yeah.
Did she make it better? Right? Did she buffer? Which was my case with my mother. She buffered my father wound. So he didn't know I existed. My mother thought I was the best thing since sliced bread. He wasn't attuned or wasn't present. My mother was always. So in one way, I knew I was valued, right? But my worthiness wound showed itself in romantic relationships where I've always had incredible friendships, right? My secure attachment with my mother, I literally have the same friends I've had for 54 years, actually the same people. And that speaks to being able to create long-term meaningful relationships, which a part of you has to be securely attached to do that. But then I could never figure out the love thing, which is where my unhealed father wound was expressing itself through my romantic relationships, where I kept repeatedly being with people who were unavailable, the way that my father was, all the things.
How can we help avoid creating father wounds in our stepkids?
Ooh, great question. Listen more than you talk.
Always a good rule.
Ask questions and then stop talking. Ask them how you can best support them. Remember what they tell you. Right? The best advice I think I got years ago when I was in therapy, because I was stepmothering and didn't know what the hell I was doing, I was complaining. And I think you and I talked about this before. I was complaining that my youngest son kept wanting to talk about cars and rims and tires and all this shit that I knew nothing about. And I was like, I just don't get it. He just keeps wanting to talk about that. And she looked at me like I had three heads. She was like, Terri, talk about cars.
Absolutely.
This kid is trying to connect with you. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such a narcissistic idiot. How could I not have seen that? It's so obvious. So what I say is that if your stepchild is interested in bugs, talk about bugs. If they're interested in design, talk about design. Like, let the kid lead. Also, how you react and respond when the kid makes an effort, when they fail, right? What are the things that we value instead of just the accomplishments? Because that really plants seeds of overfunctioning, overgiving, overworking, overdoing, just feeling like you're a human doing, not a human being. Because if you're only as good as your last accomplishment, it's so brutal. So it's also recognizing the things you love about them. I love what a kind person you are.
Yes.
I really recognize how hard you worked on that. And I have so much respect for how hard you worked, right? The things we want them to value in themselves, right? We must value and be really clear about your own biases. What is your gender bias? What is your own, do you have this whole thing about be a good girl? Don't, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all, right? There's a fine line between raising respectful children and raising children who are people pleasers and afraid to tell the truth about how they feel because someone won't like it, right? We want children who will question authority respectfully, right? Because if you have kids who just obey authority, these are kids who get abused, who get abducted, who get right? We don't want kids to be too compliant, but pay attention.
Yeah.
If a kid is sad, ask them if they want to talk. And if they say no, say, okay, but I'm here if you do. Be a soft place for them to land in a hard world over and over and over. And that consistency builds trust, and that will build a deeper relationship with dads, right? And again, this is raising kids in general. To not give a kid a father wound from the father's perspective, let's just say, is being present, not just having the mother figure be the attuned one. You also be attuned. You also, dad, if you see a sad kid, don't be like, I don't want to deal with it, even if you don't want to deal with it. Neither does the stepmom, right? We're all like, we'd rather them be happy than sad. But by recognizing and saying something about it, you are literally telling a kid, because what are we looking for as children? We want to know that we matter.
Yeah.
We want to be seen, heard, and known. So it's not about you doing the perfect diorama for the science fair. It's about you being present, even when the kid is struggling, when the kid is having big feelings and not being able to contain it. It's not losing your shit. And that means both dad and mom, bio and step, have to have some ability to regulate their own nervous system, to manage their own emotions. Because if you get provoked every time a kid is upset or cries, that kid learns being upset and crying is not cool. I cannot do that. So I will not do that. And there's a cost for not doing that, right?
So true. And I love all of this. And this is another one. I think you can just, ladies, rewind and listen to that all again, because that's gold. And I love, we do as a society, I think, place so much emphasis on the accomplishments that little kids have. And instead of that, I always loved, when somebody brought home an A, saying, I hope you're proud of yourself,
Same.
And like talking to them about building up that confidence. Like, I'm so proud of how hard you worked, and, really applauding when they sent a thank you note and like did something thoughtful for people. Those kinds of qualities. So
you make a great point though, Cameron. And I think it's great to let's put a little dot over it, which there is a huge difference between saying, I'm proud of you, and I hope you are proud of you. And listen, it's not to say that you would never say that you're proud of them, but
yeah,
you're teaching them that their behavior matters and that you want to grow up kids who act in a way that makes them proud.
Totally.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, totally. I love it. And this is such a good discussion. I could talk forever. So let's just throw out a scenario. We've got a stepmom who has a stepdaughter with a father wound that, she didn't cause. She can't heal it. She's not mom. She's not dad. She, maybe doesn't have a huge amount of access, in terms of ripple effect. And we've talked a little bit about what step parents can do in general. But in a situation like that, where you see a kid actively experiencing it, what can she do for that little girl?
I think being attuned to the kid, whatever access you do have, be attuned. Remember everything they say. They talked about this thing and they love this butterfly. You see a little butterfly sticky pad. You pick that up for her. You put it under her pillow with a note. Thought you would like this, right? These don't have to be big gestures. It's not about money. It's about, in every way that you can say, I see you, I really see you, and I like what I see. That is the messaging. Even if you only see them once a week, remember, they talked about gymnastics, then you say, what happened with Jill at gymnastics from last Sunday? Remember what they talked about. You can't even, it's impossible to qualify, I think, or quantify how much true attunement, what it does to build a kid, because that resonates on the deepest level of survival and every other thing. But it feels like love, because what is love? Time and attention and holding a kid in high esteem, always coming to them, and they know that you think they're friggin' great.
Yep, they matter. I love it. Terri, this is wonderful. Tell everybody where they can find you. Obviously, Stepmom Summit. We love having you back here again for the Stepmom Summit, second year in a row. So you can go to thestepmomsummit.com to get your free ticket for that. But Terri, where else can folks find you?
You guys can get the book at fatherwoundbook.com. If you pre-order the book before October 27th, then you have a free ticket to a half-day virtual retreat that I'm doing all about your father wound and diving into decoding your own Father Wound Blueprint. That's a big part of what we're going to be doing in that retreat. So you want to go to fatherwoundbook.com to get that and make sure you sign up because I'm so excited. The retreat's going to be on October 24th. And I'm starting to share where I'm going to be in the world. So I'll be doing book signings in LA and New York, Nashville, a bunch of dates that are starting to roll out. So you can go to terricole.com and look there. I also have a podcast, which you've been on, called The Terri Cole Show for the past almost 11 years. I have a Substack where I do a lot of very specific writing, and I hang out on Instagram. So those are the places where I'm just at Terri Cole.
I love it. So go and follow Terri. Go and get her book. The opportunity to spend a half day with you at a virtual retreat, that's gold. So go and get her book right now. So we will make sure that we have all your links in the show notes so that folks can find you and can get the book. But thank you again for being here. It is always a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Cameron. I appreciate you.
If this episode spoke to you or touched your heart, would you do me a favor? Take 10 seconds to go and follow the show, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with another stepmom who might need to hear it. Your support is going to help grow our blended family community, and you never know whose life you might change.